What colour, fingers on buzzers, what colour is the planet Mars? Yes, Joe.
It's red.
Oh,
I knew that was going to happen.
no. It may be called the red planet, but it isn't red. I'm afraid it's actually
Rusty brown.
It's browny brown, really. No, it only appears red sometimes because of the dust in the atmosphere. In fact, its landscape is a very boring brown colour.
Why are you going there? What's the point?
You are just unbelievable. I see. Yes, I see. Right. I refuse to rise to the bait. All right. According to New Scientist, actually, the most recent pictures of Mars issued by NASA were tweaked by sort of,
Photoshop.
by using filters and Photoshop. Exactly.
Britney Spears on it.
In order to conform. They were tweaked in order to conform with our expectations of its redness.
What man-made artefacts can be seen from the moon with the naked eye? Yes.
Someone said it in the audience.
What was it?
Great Wall of China.
Oh, you've done it again! I can't believe it.
Which moon are we talking about?
Rich Hall, I think I love you. That's a damn good. You've got to have 10 for that. The fact is, nothing man-made could be seen on Earth from the moon.
Too far away.
It's much, much too far away. Even the continents are quite difficult to make out, as a matter of fact.
What kind of creature was actually the first to be sent into space?
A monkey.
Oh, dear.
A squirrel monkey.
And what did you say?
He said dog,
I
sir.
think he did say dog, didn't you, John? yeah, said dog.
I bet it was something that they didn't know had gone into
No, they
space.
sent it deliberately. Fly. Fly is correct. Do you know what kind of fly? What sort of flies they always... Fruit fly. You divide points between yourselves. Very good indeed.
Why did they do that?
Well, they're very light, so there was no payload. They sent them up in July 1946 on an American V2, along with some corn seeds. But fruit flies, why are they used so much in science?
Because they can talk and they tell you exactly what's going on. If you're a fly and it's weightless, what happens then? You suddenly sort of stop flapping and go, hang on. This is what I've always dreamed of. No effort. They just say like that. In space, when they go to do number 2, they do it in the wall. They dock into the wall.
Yeah, all right. All right,
Something to
thank
think
you,
about.
Davis. So, one of the things about fruit flies is... Thank you.
But there's no sound in space,
No.
so you can't hear your own parts.
So amused. That's what's so sweet. He is absolutely adoring it. No, 61% of all known human disease genes have a recognisable match in fruit flies. Fruit flies also go to sleep at night, rather sweetly.
If they get a cold then, they get the common cold.
But they well be one of them. And the other thing is, every 2 weeks you've got a new generation, so any experimentation you do, you can observe very fast what happens. Scientists who work with fruit flies give them jokey names, and I want you to tell me why they're called what they're called. There's a breed, a gene strain, called the Canambabi fruit fly. Why is it called that?
You've got no penises.
Yes, they have no external genitalia, quite right. There's one called the Maggie. Why would that be called the Maggie?
Handbag.
Bit fascistic. Hates the unions, bit right-wing.
No, because it suffers from arrested development, like Maggie in...
The Simpsons.
Yes, someone in the audience got that before you. They must award themselves a point. So there's the Maggie one. There's the cheap date, which is sensitive to ethanol intoxication. Go figure. Where would you put your ladder if you wanted to get into space?
On top of the spaceship, on a rack. A red flag hanging off of it so some other spaceships don't follow you too closely.
It's a conceptual question. How about this? Up against a wall of silence.
You should have railings built round you, and people will come and worship you as a kind of modern Buddha. You've got the look, I have to say.
Oh.
Yeah, it's a good look.
Thank you very much.
Buddha look.
Rural Buddhas.
Yeah.
So there.
Right. Wisdom and cheat cider.
You're saying where you put the ladder, you'd assume, I suppose, the obvious answer is you'd put it on the highest point, like Everest.
Yes, that wouldn't...
It'd be a bit bumpy, wouldn't it? You couldn't get a good foothold on it.
It's sometimes called a space ladder. It's more commonly called a space elevator. It is a genuine idea that has been worked on, and many people believe would have saved the space program an enormous amount of money in various ways, was to build a huge elevator that goes from Earth and is counterweighted at the other end and spin round incredibly fast. But it would be an equivalent of geostationary orbit at the end of it, and you would have elevators on it that would go up and down.
With a phone that didn't work in it. I'm stuck on the... I'm about 87,000 miles.
There's some
right
kind of
beyond Venus.
There's some kind of a door in the roof. Maybe we could...
It was Arthur C. Clarke who particularly believed in this thing, but NASA spent a lot of money on it. But the important point is you would have to do it on the equator, where the Earth goes at its fastest. Because it's the bit, you know, like the end of a record goes faster than the middle, obviously.
What about a series of trampolines? They have a huge trampoline, and then up higher up is another one about half a mile up, and then another one. So it's like a staircase of trampolines going up into space, and then there's a big bouncy castle at the top. And a bloke charging you £1, and you've got to take your shoes off. I'd tell you the best way to get into space, I would tell you, I've just realised it, and it's brilliant. It's just brilliant. I'm going to be so rich. Bubble. A bubble. Get in a bubble, just float up
Float
there.
up there.
One day.
I mean a big bubble. I'm not talking about... Not talking about those bubbles you see and think, that's not a bubble.
Stupid little one.
You call that a bubble, mate? You want to come and see my bubble? No, a big bubble, you get in the bubble and off you go.
Fabulous.
Yeah. Who wants in? me. This is like the Dragon's Den for cranky ideas.
How about this? You could just imagine.
Oh, Bill. Huh? Bill, that's so beautiful.
It's the wisdom of the rural Buddha.
The Dalai Farmer.
Very good.
Excellent.
I've been struggling with that for about 5 minutes. Gotta be something in this.
Oh, your synapses are firing beautifully. Use your synapses to fire people into space. I'm holding a pen. That brings me cleverly to the Fisher pressurized space pen, of which you may have heard tell. It was developed after a lot of expensive research to enable astronauts to write in zero gravity. What alternative writing implement could they have used instead?
Here comes the big noise. A pencil.
Yeah. There is a kind of urban myth that the Americans spent millions on building a pressurized, gravity-free biro while the clever Russians just used a pencil. But in fact, they started off, both of them, using pencils, and the tip broke. And when the tip breaks, it floats around and it gets into short circuits, things gets into people's eyes and bodies. It's very dangerous indeed.
Oh, but what a laugh that must be to have a pencil sharpener on the space shuttle.
So it's sadly not true, that story. An ordinary biro would have worked. It didn't need a special pressurised one. You need to write upside down. It needs to be pressurised when there's gravity, but when there's no gravity, an ordinary one will work.
What would you find at the exact centre of the observable universe?
Oh, you?
Well, oddly enough. Possibly. Norfolk, yes.
There isn't a centre of the universe, really. So isn't the centre of the universe just the person who's looking out? Because it must be the same...
You are so absolutely right, it hurts.
In any direction.
That's brilliant.
Yeah. Oh,
absolutely right.
But I remember at school them doing something with a balloon, The
Yes.
teacher, and he put loads of dots on a balloon, and then he sort of said it was like the closest to explaining the universe as he could do.
That's absolutely right. Although there has been an absolute statement of where the centre of the universe is, which is that it's at the meeting of Bank Street and 6th Street in the town of Wallace, Idaho. There it is. Centre of the universe.
Is that
It's
the mayor
official.
of Idaho, though? Has he said that?
Well, it
They're
covers
doing well
Idaho.
for tourism and gone, why don't we just say the centre of the universe is here?
You're absolutely right.
Just made it
He
up.
said it because there was no particular scientific evidence to say that it wasn't. the
Oh, I see. So
universe.
I see.
They decided in that...
We'll have it.
Yeah, but it's Americans like to stake a claim. They're land grabbers. It's in their DNA, so to be. Not that we weren't in our colonial era, of course.
Isn't the sun the centre of the universe?
Well, sorry, I didn't want to laugh at
What a way to build me confidence for the rest of the show.
That was the most... I thought that was a serious question as well. We both looked to you and you looked at us like the peasants on the land. Going, will we ever be free of this tyranny? Never.
I'd like to go in the toilet, but doesn't the Wiki Hole Witch live there?
Well, I'm sorry that it sounded quite so patronising. The centre of the universe is apparently Bank Street and 6th Street in Wallace, Idaho, or...
The sun.
Yes? You beasts. You unutterable beasts. The exact centre of the observable universe, you'll find the unbearable likeness of Johnny Vegas, or whoever happens to be observing this.